The fluorescent lights in classroom 204 buzzed quietly as Maria sat at a desk in the back row, staring at the red marks covering her English test. A giant F sat at the top of the page like a punch to the stomach. She'd studied for hours, but the words still didn't make sense. Everything in America felt wrong. The language twisted her tongue. The other kids looked right through her like she was made of glass. It was almost 7 in the evening. Everyone had gone home hours ago, but Maria stayed. She always stayed late these days. Home wasn't really home yet. Just a tiny apartment that smelled like mildew, where her mother worked double shifts at the restaurant and came back too tired to talk. At least school was warm. At least the desks were solid and real. Maria wiped her eyes with the sleeve of her jacket. It was her only jacket, actually. A thin thing that barely kept out the October cold. Back in Guadalajara, October meant mild weather and her grandmother's cooking. Here in Chicago, October meant biting wind and feeling lost in hallways full of strangers. She heard footsteps in the corridor. Squeaking wheels of a janitor's cart. Maria quickly shoved the test into her backpack and pretended to be writing something. She didn't want anyone to see her crying. Didn't want anyone to ask questions she'd struggle to answer in broken English. The door swung open and an older man pushed his cart inside. He wore navy blue work clothes and had gray hair that stuck up a bit on one side. He was whistling something soft and melodic. When he saw Maria, he stopped in the doorway. "Oh, sorry," he said with an accent she couldn't quite place. "Didn't know someone's still here." Maria grabbed her bag quickly. "I go now, sorry." The man held up his hand gently. No, is okay. "You study?" "I clean quiet." He smiled, and his whole face crinkled up like warm paper. He started sweeping the front of the classroom, moving slowly, still humming that tune. Maria sat back down, unsure what to do. She pulled out a textbook and pretended to read, but the words blurred together. Her throat felt tight. The man worked his way around the room, emptying trash cans, wiping down desks. He didn't seem to mind her being there. After a while, he pulled a small thermos from his cart and poured something steaming into the cap. "You want tea?" he asked, holding it out toward her. "Is still hot." "I'd just make before shift." Maria hesitated. Her mother had warned her about accepting things from strangers. But there was something about his eyes. They were kind. The same kind her grandfather had before he passed away. "Okay," she said quietly. "Thank you." He brought the cap of tea over and set it gently on her desk. The smell of jasmine filled her nose. It reminded her of home in a way that made her chest ache. "You study hard," he observed, nodding at her pile of books. "I try," Maria said. "But English is very hard for me." The man nodded knowingly. Yes, I understand. When I come to America, long time ago, English very hard for me too. Very, very hard. You from China?" Maria asked. "Taiwan," he said. "Come here when I'm 23. Now I'm 64. "Long time," he laughed softly. "My name is Mr. Chen, Thomas Chen, but everyone just call me Mr. Chen. I'm Maria Rodriguez. Nice to meet you." "Maria Rodriguez." He went back to his cart and continued cleaning, but he talked while he worked. "You know, first year I come here, I fail English class 3 times. 3 times. My teacher, she say maybe English not for me, but I keep trying. Now look, I speak okay. Not perfect, but okay." Maria sipped the tea. It was sweet and warm. "But you have accent. People make fun?" Mr. Chen shrugged. "Sometimes. But accent just mean you know more than one language. That make you smart, not stupid. You speak Spanish and English. That 2 languages. Most people here speak only one. So who really smarter?" Maria had never thought about it that way. In Mexico, she'd been a good student. Really good, actually. Especially in math. Numbers made sense. They were the same in every language. But here, everyone treated her like she was dumb because she couldn't explain her answers in perfect English. "I good at math," she said quietly. "But other subjects hard. Math." Mr. Chen's face lit up. "Math very important. My daughter, she loved math too. Now she teacher at elementary school." "Math teacher." He pulled out his wallet and showed Maria a photo of a young woman in front of a classroom. "That her? Linda, very proud of her." Maria looked at the photo. The woman looked happy, confident. "She speak English good?" "Perfect English. She born here. But you know what? When she little, I help her with math homework every night. My English terrible, but math same everywhere. I show her, she learn. Now she teach other kids." He put the wallet back and continued sweeping. You stay after school every day? He asked. Maria nodded. My mother worked late. Home is cold and lonely. Mr. Chen stopped sweeping and looked at her with such understanding that Maria felt tears prick her eyes again. I understand, he said simply. When I first come here, I work 3 jobs. Sleep only 4 or 5 hours. Very lonely, very hard. But get better. Always get better. How long until it get better? Maria asked, her voice cracking slightly. Different for everyone, Mr. Chen said. But you young. You work hard. You already speaking English to me. Maybe better than you think. He smiled again. You hear every evening? Most days, Maria admitted. Okay, I hear every evening too. 5 days a week. I clean this building. If you want, you can study here. I bring extra tea sometimes. And maybe I have old newspapers you can practice reading. Help with English. What you think? Maria felt something warm spread through her chest. It wasn't just the tea. It was the first time since moving to America that someone had really seen her. Not just looked past her or felt sorry for her, but actually seen her and offered help without making her feel small. Thank you, Mr. Chen, she said, and she meant it more than he could know. No problem, Maria Rodriguez. We immigrants, we help each other. That's how we survive. He finished cleaning the classroom, whistling his tune again. Before he left, he pointed at her backpack. You study hard. Don't give up. I see you, smart girl. Just need time. English come. Everything come. Just need time and practice. After he left, Maria sat alone in the empty classroom, holding the warm teacup in her hands. For the first time in months, she didn't feel completely invisible. Somewhere in this big, cold city, someone had noticed her, someone who understood. She pulled out her English test again and looked at the red F. It still hurt, but somehow it didn't feel quite as heavy. Maybe Mr. Chen was right. Maybe she just needed time. Maybe things could get better. Outside the window, the Chicago evening grew darker. But inside classroom 204, Maria felt a tiny spark of something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. And sometimes, that's all you need to keep going. 3 weeks had passed since that first evening in classroom 204. Maria now arrived at the empty classroom every day after her last class ended. She'd do her homework, struggle through reading assignments, and wait for the familiar squeak of Mr. Chen's cleaning cart in the hallway. He always brought tea, sometimes jasmine, sometimes green tea with honey. And true to his word, he'd started bringing newspapers. Not current ones, but old editions from the recycling bin in the teacher's lounge. At first, Maria thought reading news would be too hard. But Mr. Chen showed her a trick. Start with pictures, he said one evening, spreading out the sports section. Look at picture first, then read words around it. Picture help you understand context. Context very important. They'd started with sports articles because the sentences were shorter. Maria learned words like victory and defeat and championship. Then they moved to weather reports, which had simple, repeated patterns. Gradually, she began recognizing more words without needing to check her pocket dictionary every few seconds, but it wasn't just the reading practice. Mr. Chen had a way of explaining things that her teachers didn't. When Maria struggled with an idiom like, it's raining cats and dogs, he didn't just tell her what it meant. He'd laugh and say, first time someone tell me that, I look up at sky. I think, where are cats and dogs? Very confused. His stories made the language feel less like a wall she had to climb, and more like a puzzle she could solve. One cold November evening, Maria was working on her algebra homework when Mr. Chen stopped his cart beside her desk. You like math, he observed. It wasn't a question. Yes, Maria said, looking up. Math is easy for me. Same in Spanish or English. Numbers don't change. You very good at it? Maria felt shy suddenly. Back home, she'd been the best in her class. But here she felt weird about admitting she was good at anything. I think so. In Mexico, I always get highest scores. Mr. Chen nodded thoughtfully. He pulled out his phone, an old flip phone that looked ancient, and made a call. He spoke in what Maria assumed was Chinese, his voice excited. Then he handed her the phone. Here, talk to my daughter, Linda, the teacher I showed you before. Maria took the phone nervously. Hello? Hi, Maria? A cheerful voice came through. My dad tells me you're really good at math. That's awesome. They talked for almost 15 minutes. Linda explained that she ran a volunteer tutoring program at her elementary school and was always looking for volunteers. She told Maria that helping younger kids was a great way to practice English in a low-pressure situation. Kids were patient, Linda said. They didn't judge your accent. But I don't know if I good enough, Maria said hesitantly. Maria, kids who are struggling with basic math don't care about your grammar. They care that you can explain why 2 + 2 = 4 in a way that makes sense. And my dad says you're brilliant at math. Trust me, you're good enough. After she hung up, Mr. Chen was smiling widely. See, you have skill. Skill that people need. Don't hide it because English not perfect yet. But what if kids don't understand me? Then you show them on paper. Math is language too. Universal language. You know this. The idea scared Maria, but it also excited her. She'd felt useless for so long. Maybe Mr. Chen was right. Maybe she did have something to offer. That weekend, she took 2 buses to Linda's elementary school and nervously walked into the library where tutoring sessions were held. Linda greeted her with a huge hug like they were old friends. She introduced Maria to 3 third graders who were struggling with multiplication. Maria sat down with them, her heart pounding. But the moment one little boy showed her his homework and said, "I don't get it," something clicked. She picked up a pencil and started drawing groups of objects. 3 groups of 4 apples. She didn't need fancy English to show that 3 groups of 4 made 12. The kids leaned in, watching her hands. Within 20 minutes, they were getting it. "You make it make sense," one girl said, grinning. Maria felt something bloom in her chest. Pride. Real pride. She'd helped someone understand something difficult. Her accent hadn't mattered at all. She started volunteering every Saturday. Linda always welcomed her warmly, and the kids started asking for Miss Maria specifically. She was still struggling in her own classes, still feeling lost in crowded hallways at Lincoln High, but for 3 hours every Saturday, she felt competent, valuable. Back at school, Mr. Chen noticed the change in her. "You stand taller," he said one evening while dusting the bookshelves. "More confidence. I see it." "The tutoring helps," Maria admitted. "Make me feel less stupid." "You never stupid," Mr. Chen said firmly. "Never, just learning. Big difference." As winter set in and Chicago became brutally cold, Maria's thin jacket became a bigger problem. She'd started wearing 2 sweaters underneath it, but she still shivered on the walk to and from school. She tried not to complain. Her mother was working so hard already, picking up extra shifts to pay for their apartment and food. There was no money for a better coat. One evening in early December, Maria arrived at classroom 204 to find a puffy winter coat draped over her usual desk. It was navy blue, slightly worn at the cuffs but thick and warm. A note sat on top of it in Mr. Chen's careful handwriting. "Found in Lost and Found. No one claim it. Principals say you can have. Stay warm. Mr. Chen." Maria picked up the coat and buried her face in it. She knew it wasn't from the Lost and Found. The coat looked like it had been cleaned recently. It even smelled like fresh laundry detergent. She knew Mr. Chen had bought it for her, probably from a thrift store, and was too kind to make her feel like charity. When he arrived with his cart a few minutes later, she stood up, wearing the coat. "Mr. Chen, thank you." "Thank you so much." He waved his hand dismissively. No, it's from Lost and Found. Lucky they have your size." But his eyes were twinkling. Maria didn't argue. She just bowed slightly, the way she'd seen him bow sometimes, and said again, "Thank you." That coat became her armor, not just against the cold, but against the feeling of being small and unimportant. Someone had noticed she was cold. Someone had cared enough to do something about it. By January, Maria's English had improved dramatically. She wasn't fluent, but she could follow most of her classes now. Her grades were climbing. She'd even made a friend, a girl named Keisha who sat next to her in biology and didn't mind repeating things when Maria looked confused. But her biggest breakthrough came in math class. Her teacher, Mr. Patterson, was explaining quadratic equations. Maria understood immediately. It was elegant, simple, logical. But many students looked lost. After class, Mr. Patterson stopped her. "Maria, I've noticed you never struggle with the math concepts. Only with reading the word problems," Maria nodded. "Yes, math part is easy. English part is hard. What if I pair you with some students who understand English but struggle with math? You could help them with the concepts and they could help you translate the word problems. Would you be interested?" Maria thought about the third graders she tutored every Saturday. How helping them had helped her. "Yes, I'd do that." Within a week, she was working with 3 classmates during study hall. They'd read the word problems aloud, breaking them into simple pieces, and Maria would show them how to set up the equations. It was perfect. She was learning English by teaching math. One of her study partners, a boy named Andrew, said something that stuck with her. "You know, Maria, you explain this stuff way better than Mr. Patterson. You should be a teacher or something." A teacher. Maria had never thought about that before. Back in Mexico, she'd just assumed she'd work in her family's small grocery store. But here, maybe things could be different. Maybe she could be different. That evening, she told Mr. Chen about what Andrew had said. "Of course you could be teacher," Mr. Chen said matter-of-factly, wiping down desks. "You already are teacher. Every Saturday, every study hall. You good at it. But to be real teacher, I need to go to college. That costs so much money. My family don't have that." Mr. Chen paused his cleaning and looked at her seriously. "You know what scholarship is?" Maria shook her head. "Is money for college. Free money if you good student. If you get good grades, do activities, get teachers to write good letters about you. Universities give scholarship to good students. But I'm immigrant." "They give scholarship to immigrants?" "Yes, especially immigrants who work hard. America loves story of person who come here and succeed. Is called American dream is real thing." That night, Maria couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Mr. Chen's words. Could she really go to college? Could someone like her actually become a teacher? The next day, she went to the school counselor's office for the first time. The counselor, Mrs. Okafor, listened to Maria's halting questions about scholarships in college. "Maria," Mrs. Okafor said gently, "you're exactly the kind of student scholarship programs are looking for. But you'll need strong grades, teacher recommendations, and extracurricular activities. Let's make a plan." Walking out of that office, Maria felt like she was floating. A plan. She had a plan now. It wasn't just about surviving day to day anymore. It was about building towards something. She couldn't wait to tell Mr. Chen. When she reached classroom 204 that evening, she practically ran inside. "Mr. Chen." "I talked to counselor." "She say I can get scholarship. She say I have good chance." Mr. Chen's whole face lit up. He put down his broom and clasped his hands together. "Of course. I tell you. You smart girl, work hard. Listen to counselor. Follow the plan, you see. Dreams come true when you work hard and have help from people who believe in you." He paused, then added softly, "You remind me of my Linda. Same determination, same intelligence. I'm very proud of you, Maria Rodriguez." Maria's eyes filled with tears, but they were good tears. Happy tears. "Thank you, Mr. Chen, for everything. For tea, for newspapers, for coat, for believing in me. Is what friends do," Mr. Chen said simply. "We help each other, friends." Maria realized that's what they were. An unlikely pair. A 64-year-old janitor from Taiwan and a 16-year-old student from Mexico. But somehow in this big, cold city, they'd found each other. And that made all the difference. Spring brought warmer weather to Chicago. But it also brought a new kind of pressure for Maria. She was finishing her junior year, which meant next year would be her last chance to strengthen her college applications. Mrs. Okafor, her counselor, had been clear. Grades were improving nicely. But she needed more extracurricular activities. Colleges wanted to see leadership, community involvement, impact. But every activity cost money. Yearbook committee needed fees. Sports teams required equipment. Drama club had dues. Even the debate team asked students to chip in for tournament travel. Maria's mother was already working herself to exhaustion. There was no extra money for school activities. One April evening, Maria sat in classroom 204 feeling defeated. She'd received a letter about a full scholarship to State University. Full tuition, room and board, everything covered. It was designed specifically for immigrant students who showed academic promise. Mrs. Okafor said Maria would be competitive for it. But the application required proof of leadership and community service. Hours of it, documented and verified. "I don't have enough activities," Maria told Mr. Chen as he mopped the floor. "I tutor on Saturdays, but that only one thing. They want more. They want president of clubs, captain of teams. I have nothing." Mr. Chen stopped mopping and leaned on the handle, thinking. "You tutor, yes. But where? At Linda's school, the elementary school, and they need tutors? Always. Linda say they never have enough volunteers. So why you don't start tutoring program here? At Lincoln High? Many students here need help with math, yes? I hear teachers talk about it all the time. Students failing algebra, geometry. You could help?" Maria looked up at him. "Start a program, me? I'm just student myself, so You good at math. You good at teaching. You already prove this. Why not help students here at your own school? The idea was terrifying, but also exciting. How I start something like that? Talk to principal. Tell him your idea. Tell him you want to help students who's struggling. Offer to do it free after school. I bet he say yes. School always wants students to help other students. Maria spent the next week building up courage. She wrote out what she wanted to say, practicing the English until it sounded natural. Finally, on a Thursday afternoon, she knocked on Principal Walsh's office door. He was a tall man with gray hair and reading glasses that sat low on his nose. He looked surprised to see her. Maria rarely interacted with administration. She kept her head down, went to class, stayed out of trouble. Maria Rodriguez, right? What can I do for you? Maria's hands shook slightly as she held her written notes. Mr. Walsh, I want to start tutoring program for math. I see many students struggling and I good at math. I already tutor elementary students on Saturdays. I want to help here too, after school. In library maybe. Free tutoring for any student who need help. Principal Walsh leaned back in his chair, studying her. That's quite an initiative. You'd be willing to commit to this? How many hours per week? 3 days. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. After school. 1 hour each day. And you'd need a space. Library would work. But you'd need a teacher sponsor. Someone to supervise and vouch for the program. Maria's heart sank. She didn't know any teachers well enough to ask. Her English teachers probably didn't think highly of her. Her math teacher was nice but always seemed busy. Principal Walsh must have seen her face fall. Tell you what, let me talk to some teachers. If I can find someone willing to sponsor this, would you be serious about following through? This can't be something you do for a few weeks and then quit. I'm serious. Very serious. I want to help. And I want to go to college. I need activities for scholarship. Something shifted in Principal Walsh's expression. He smiled slightly. Honest answer. I appreciate that. Let me see what I can do. 2 days later, Mrs. Okafor called Maria to her office. I heard about your tutoring proposal. Principal Walsh asked me to be your faculty sponsor. I think it's a wonderful idea. Maria felt like she might burst. Really, you help me? Absolutely. Let's work out the details. We'll announce it next week and see who shows up. That evening, Maria practically flew into classroom 204. Mr. Chen was replacing light bulbs, standing on a ladder. Mr. Chen, they say yes. I can start tutoring program. He climbed down carefully, his face breaking into a huge smile. See, I tell you. You have good idea, people listen. When you start? Next Monday. 3 days a week. Mrs. Okafor is helping me. Mr. Chen reached into his cart and pulled out 2 bags of tea. Here, you give to students who come for tutoring. Tea help people think better. Is science fact. He winked. The following Monday, Maria sat up in the library with her notebooks and textbooks. She'd made flyers and Mrs. Okafor had announced the program during morning announcements. Maria waited nervously, wondering if anyone would show up. By 3:15, 7 students had arrived. Some were freshmen struggling with basic algebra. Others were juniors who'd failed geometry and were retaking it. One senior needed help with pre-calculus for college prep. Maria took a deep breath and started. She moved from student to student looking at their homework, asking questions, drawing diagrams. Her English wasn't perfect, but her explanations were clear. She used pictures, real-world examples, hand gestures. She made math make sense. One freshman girl named Destiny looked up from her paper with wide eyes. Oh, I get it now. The way you explained it just clicked. That feeling, that exact feeling, Maria remembered having it when she'd first helped those third graders. The moment when someone understands something they'd been struggling with. It was addictive. By the end of May, her tutoring sessions were packed. Word had spread that the math girl in the library was better at explaining things than textbooks or teachers. Students started coming not just for homework help, but to actually understand the concepts. Maria's confidence grew with each session. But something unexpected happened too. As she helped students with their math, she found herself learning from them. They'd use phrases or words she didn't know, and she'd ask what they meant. They'd recommend TV shows or music that helped her understand American culture better. These tutoring sessions became exchange. She gave them math skills. They gave her language skills and friendship. One Wednesday in early June, Maria was helping a sophomore named Tyler with word problems when Mr. Chen came in to empty the library trash cans. Tyler looked up. Hey, you're the janitor who's always super nice to everyone. Mr. Chen smiled. I try to be. You working with Maria? Yeah, she's the best. I was failing algebra, but now I actually get it. She's like a miracle worker. After the session ended and students left, Mr. Chen lingered. See what you building here? You helping people, you making difference. This is leadership. This is what colleges want to see. Maria looked around the library, at the tables where students had been sitting, at the whiteboard covered in equations she'd written. I didn't think it would become this big. Best things often start small, like jasmine tea in classroom. Small thing become big thing. As junior year ended, Maria had logged over 60 hours of tutoring. She'd helped more than 30 different students. Her own grades were excellent. Her English was nearly fluent. And she had multiple teachers who'd witnessed her work ethic and dedication. But life wasn't perfect. In late June, Maria's mother got sick. Really sick. She'd been ignoring symptoms for months because she couldn't afford to take time off work or see a doctor. By the time they finally went to the emergency room, the doctor said she needed immediate treatment. The medical bills were devastating. Maria watched her mother stress about money, about work, about everything. They were behind on rent. The electricity had been shut off once. Maria took on more hours at a weekend house cleaning job trying to help, but it was never enough. She didn't tell anyone at school about what was happening at home. She kept showing up to her tutoring sessions, kept smiling, kept helping others. But inside she was terrified. What if they got evicted? What if her mother couldn't work anymore? College seemed like an impossible dream now. One evening in July, when school was out but Maria was at the building for summer tutoring sessions, she broke down in the hallway. The pressure, the fear, the exhaustion, it all came crashing down. She sat on the floor outside the library and cried. Mr. Chen found her there. He was working summer hours, keeping the building maintained while most staff were gone. Maria, what happened? What wrong? Through tears, she told him everything. About her mother's illness, the medical bills, the threat of eviction, the fear that everything she'd worked for was falling apart. Mr. Chen listened quietly. When she finished, he sat down on the floor beside her, his old knees creaking. Life very hard sometimes, he said gently. I know, when my wife's sick few years ago, same problem. Bills worry, fear. But you know what? People help. Community help. That what community for? But we have no community here. We don't know anyone. Just work and school. You have community. You just don't see it yet. You help many people. Now time to let people help you, not weak to accept help, is strong, is smart. The next day, Maria was shocked to find Principal Walsh had called her mother. Mrs. Okafor was there too. They'd arranged for the school social worker to help Maria's family apply for medical assistance programs. They'd connected them with a local church that helped with emergency rent payments. They'd found a lawyer who did immigration and financial help pro bono. Within 2 weeks, Maria's mother was enrolled in a treatment program with reduced costs. A community organization paid 2 months of their rent to keep them from eviction. People Maria had never met showed up with groceries and gift cards. Later, Maria learned that Mr. Chen had gone to Principal Walsh and explained the situation. He'd advocated for her family, told the principal how hard Maria worked, how much she contributed to the school. He'd made sure people knew they needed help. When Maria thanked him, Mr. Chen shrugged. You help students. I help you. His circle is how it should work. No one succeed alone. We all need help sometimes. As summer ended and senior year approached, Maria's mother was recovering. They were still struggling financially, but they were stable. And Maria had learned something profound. Accepting help wasn't weakness. Community wasn't something you had to be born into. It was something you built, one kind action at a time. She applied for the scholarship to State University. Her essay was about perseverance, community, and how a janitor's cup of tea had changed her life. She wrote about starting the tutoring program, about learning that teaching others helped her learn, about discovering that real strength came from both giving and receiving help. In March of her senior year, the acceptance letter arrived. Full scholarship. 4 years, everything covered. Maria held the letter and sobbed. She'd done it. Against all odds, she'd actually done it. At graduation, when they called her name, Maria walked across the stage in the cap and gown the school had loaned her. As she received her diploma, she looked into the audience and found Mr. Chen sitting with the staff section. She smiled at him and he gave her a thumbs up. his eyes shining with tears. After the ceremony, Maria pushed through the crowd to find him. She hugged him tightly. "I did it. We did it." "No," Mr. Chen said, pulling back to look at her. "You did it. I just share some tea and newspapers. You did all hard work. Mr. Chen, without you I would have given up. You saw me when I was invisible. You made me believe I could do this." He patted her shoulder. "And now you go to university. You become teacher. You help many more students. You pay it forward. That how it work. That best way to thank me. You go help others like I help you." Maria nodded through tears. "I will, I promise. I'll remember this. I'll remember you. Always." University was everything Maria had dreamed about and nothing like she'd expected. State University was huge, sprawling across what felt like an entire city. There were students from everywhere, speaking dozens of languages, studying hundreds of subjects. For the first time in her life, Maria didn't feel like an outsider. Everyone was trying to figure things out. She threw herself into her studies with the same intensity she'd brought to learning English. Engineering was her major, specifically computer engineering. She loved the logic of it. The way code was like math, universal and precise. Her professors noticed her talent quickly. By sophomore year, she was being invited to join research projects usually reserved for graduate students. But Maria never forgot where she came from. She volunteered as a tutor in the university's Academic Success Center. She mentored incoming freshmen, who were first-generation college students. She started a student organization for immigrant students, creating the kind of community that she'd wished she'd had at Lincoln High. She wrote letters to Mr. Chen during her first year. Long letters telling him about her classes, her friends, the fascinating things she was learning. She'd mail them to Lincoln High School, asking them to forward to Mr. Chen. The first few letters were returned with notes saying Mr. Chen had retired. The school didn't have a forwarding address. Maria tried calling the school, but no one in the new administration knew where he'd moved. His daughter Linda's elementary school said she'd transferred to a different school district, but they couldn't give out personal information. It bothered Maria deeply. Mr. Chen had been so important in her life, and she'd lost touch with him. But university life was demanding, and eventually the letters stopped. The attempts to find him became less frequent. Life moved forward as it always does. Maria graduated with honors. Job offers came from multiple tech companies. She chose one in Seattle, a growing startup that was developing educational software. The mission spoke to her, making quality education accessible to everyone regardless of background or location. She was good at her job. Really good. Within 3 years, she was leading a team. Within 5, she was director of product development. She met someone, a kind man named David who worked in marketing. They fell in love, got married in a small ceremony that her mother cried through with joy. Life was full and busy and good. Maria bought her mother a house in a safe neighborhood. She paid off all her mother's medical debt. She donated regularly to Lincoln High School's scholarship fund. She'd made it. The American dream was real, at least for her. But sometimes late at night she'd think about Mr. Chen, wonder where he was, how he was doing. She'd remember the taste of jasmine tea, the patience in his voice, the way he'd seen potential in her when she couldn't see it herself. When Maria was 28, her company was acquired by a larger corporation for an amount of money that seemed surreal. As part of the acquisition, Maria received stock options that made her wealthy. Not just comfortable, actually wealthy. David kept joking that they could retire early, travel the world. But Maria didn't want to retire. She wanted to build something new, something that mattered. She left the corporation and started her own company. EdTech Solutions, she called it. The mission was simple: create affordable, accessible educational tools for underserved communities. She built apps that helped students learn math through interactive games. She created platforms where volunteer tutors could connect with students who needed help. She developed AI-assisted learning programs that adapted to each student's pace and learning style. The company grew fast. Major school districts started using her products. Foundations gave her grants. Within 3 years, EdTech Solutions was being featured in magazines, winning awards, making real impact. Maria was invited to speak at conferences, to appear on panels about innovation in education. Her mother was proud, but she'd also say, "Mija, you work too much. When you have babies? When you slow down and enjoy life? Maria would laugh and promise to slow down eventually, but truthfully, the work fulfilled her in a way nothing else did. Every time she got an email from a teacher saying her app had helped a struggling student finally understand fractions, or a parent thanking her for creating free resources, she felt that same rush she'd felt in the Lincoln High Library. She was helping people learn. She was making a difference. She tried a few more times over the years to find Mr. Chen. She hired a researcher to look through public records, but Chen was a common name, and Thomas Chen brought up thousands of results. She reached out to Linda, his daughter, through the teacher database, but never heard back. Maybe Linda had gotten married and changed her name. Maybe she'd moved out of state. Maybe the messages never reached her. Maria told herself it was okay. Mr. Chen had wanted her to pay it forward, and she was doing that. He'd be proud of what she'd built, even if he never knew about it. David and Maria had 2 children, a boy and a girl. Maria named her daughter Grace after her grandmother in Mexico. Her son she named Thomas after Mr. Chen. David asked why that name, and Maria told him the whole story, about the janitor who'd saved her life with jasmine tea and old newspapers. David cried listening to it. "We should try to find him," David said. "Really try. Hire a private investigator, someone good. Don't you want him to meet Thomas? To know what you've become?" Maria did want that, desperately, but she was also afraid. Afraid that they wouldn't find him. Afraid that maybe Mr. Chen had passed away. Afraid that after all these years the reunion wouldn't live up to the memory. Some things were perfect in the past. Maybe they should stay there, but David was persistent. He found a private investigator who specialized in locating people. A woman named Patricia who came highly recommended. She was expensive, but money wasn't an issue anymore. "I need to know what you know about him," Patricia said during their first meeting. "Full name, approximate age, last known location, any family members, places of work, everything." Maria told her everything she could remember. Thomas Chen, from Taiwan, would be in his 80s now, had worked as a janitor at Lincoln High School in Chicago, had retired around 15 years ago, had a daughter named Linda who'd been an elementary school teacher, wife who'd been sick years ago. Patricia took notes and nodded. "It's not a lot to go on, but I found people with less. Give me a few weeks." Those weeks felt eternal. Maria found herself thinking about Mr. Chen constantly, remembering conversations they'd had, the way he'd whistle while he worked, his gentle corrections of her English, the thermos he'd carried, his pride when she'd told him about her scholarship. 6 weeks later, Patricia called. "I found him." Maria's heart stopped. "Is he alive?" "Yes, he's 82 years old, living in a senior apartment complex in Aurora, Illinois. That's about 40 miles west of Chicago. Is he okay? Is he healthy?" There was a pause. "Maria, I think you should see for yourself. I've sent you the address, but I need to prepare you for something. His circumstances are difficult. His wife passed away 3 years ago. His daughter Linda helps when she can, but she's a single mother of 3 working full-time. Mr. Chen is living on Social Security and a small pension. According to public records, he's had some significant medical expenses recently." Maria felt something crack open in her chest. Mr. Chen, her Mr. Chen, struggling. While she'd been building her company, making millions, buying houses and taking vacations, Mr. Chen had been struggling. "I'm going to see him," Maria said. "Right now, today." David agreed immediately. They arranged for Maria's mother to watch the kids. They got in the car and drove from their home in Naperville to Aurora. The drive took less than an hour, but it felt like traveling back in time. The senior apartment complex was called Meadowview, though there wasn't much of a meadow in sight. Just a set of worn brick buildings surrounding a small courtyard. The paint was peeling in places. The parking lot had cracks and potholes. Maria's hands shook as she walked to Building C, Unit 217. She stood outside the door for a full minute, trying to breathe, trying to prepare herself. Then she knocked. Shuffling footsteps. The door opened slowly, and there he was, Mr. Chen, so much older. His hair completely white now, his face more lined, his shoulders bent. He was thinner than she remembered. He wore old slippers and cardigan with patches on the elbows. Behind him she could see a small, sparse apartment. He looked at her with confusion. "Yes, can I help you?" "Mr. Chen," Maria said, her voice breaking. "It's me, Maria Rodriguez, from Lincoln High School." For a moment, nothing. He squinted at her, uncertain. Then recognition bloomed across his face like sunrise. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened. His hand went to his chest. Maria? Little Maria? The math girl? Yes, Maria sobbed. It's me. He reached out with shaking hands and touched her face as if to make sure she was real. Then he pulled her into a hug. He smelled like Old Spice and tea, exactly like she remembered. They stood in the doorway, both crying, holding each other. David stood back, tears running down his face too, giving them their moment. I can't believe, Mr. Chen kept saying. I can't believe you here. You really here? I'm here, Maria said. And I've been looking for you. For so long. I'm so sorry it took this long. Mr. Chen pulled back, wiping his eyes. Come in, his mess. I wasn't expecting company. But come in. The apartment was tiny. 1 bedroom, a small living area, a kitchenette. But it was clean and organized. Photos covered one wall. Maria recognized Linda, older now with 3 children. There were other photos too. And in the center, one that made Maria's breath catch. It was her. A newspaper clipping from her high school graduation. The article had mentioned her full scholarship and her tutoring program. Mr. Chen had cut it out and framed it. It hung in the center of his photo wall. You kept that, Maria whispered. Of course I kept. I'm so proud. I show everyone. I say, see this girl? I knew her when she just learning English. Look at her now. Full scholarship. I knew she was special. Maria looked around the small apartment with new eyes. The old furniture. The space heater in the corner. The pill bottles lined up on the kitchen counter. The refrigerator that hummed too loudly. Mr. Chen, she said gently. Tell me everything. What happened after you retired? Where's Linda? How are you doing? Tell me the truth. Mr. Chen made tea. Of course he did. Jasmine tea in chipped but clean cups. And then he told her. Mr. Chen's story came out slowly between sips of jasmine tea. He'd retired from Lincoln High at 67, after 40 years of janitorial work. The pension was small but enough when combined with Social Security. He and his wife, Grace, had lived simply but comfortably in a small house they'd finally paid off. Then Grace got sick. Cancer. The aggressive kind. The treatments were expensive, even with Medicare. There were experimental options, out-of-network specialists, medications not fully covered. They'd sold the house to pay for treatments that ultimately didn't work. Grace had passed away 3 years ago. She was everything. Mr. Chen said quietly, looking at a photo on the wall. We married 52 years. Since I was 23, she my best friend. After she died, Mr. Chen had moved to this apartment. Linda helped when she could, but she was struggling too. Her husband had left when their youngest was just 2. She was teaching full-time, raising 3 kids alone, living paycheck to paycheck. She good daughter, Mr. Chen said. She want to help more. But I tell her, take care of grandchildren first. I'm old, man. I'm okay, but he wasn't okay. Maria could see that. 6 months ago, he'd fallen and broken his hip. The surgery was expensive. Recovery was slow. Physical therapy was ongoing. The medical bills were crushing. He'd been eating 1 meal a day to stretch his money. He'd stopped taking one of his medications because he couldn't afford all of them. But I manage, Mr. Chen said with a weak smile. I always manage. That what we do? We survive. Maria listened to all of this with tears streaming down her face. This man, this beautiful, kind man who'd given her tea when she had nothing, who'd bought her a coat he probably couldn't afford, who'd advocated for her, believed in her, changed her entire life. This man was rationing his meals and skipping medications. Mr. Chen, Maria said, taking his weathered hands in hers. Do you remember what you told me? That night in classroom 204 when you first shared your tea? I say many things. I talk too much. He smiled. You said we immigrants help each other. That's how we survive. You said when you accept help, it's not weakness. It's strength. It's community. You said that to me. Mr. Chen nodded slowly. Yes, I remember. When your mother was sick. Mr. Chen, you helped me when I had nothing. You saw me. You believed in me. You gave me hope when I was ready to give up. And now I need you to let me help you. Not because you're weak. Not because you're charity. But because that's what family does. And you're family to me. The old man's eyes filled with tears. Maria, you don't need to. Yes, I do. I absolutely do. Mr. Chen, I need to tell you something. That girl you helped? The one who was failing English and wearing a thin coat? She went to university. She became an engineer. She started a company. A company that helps students learn. just like you helped me learn. And that company was successful. Very successful. Mr. Chen, I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes, and none of it would exist without you. She pulled out her phone and showed him her company website. Articles about EdTech solutions. Photos of her speaking at conferences. The app interface that had helped millions of students. Mr. Chen stared at the screen in amazement. This you? You build this? Yes. All of it started because a janitor gave me tea and newspapers and made me believe I could learn. Because someone saw potential in me when I couldn't see it myself. David, who'd been sitting quietly, spoke up. Mr. Chen, Maria named our son after you. Thomas, he's 5 years old. We told him he's named after a hero. We'd love for you to meet him. Mr. Chen put his hand over his mouth, overcome with emotion. You name your son after me? Of course I did, Mr. Chen, you saved my life. Not dramatically. Not all at once. But quietly, steadily, with jasmine tea and patience and kindness. You saved my life. They sat in that small apartment for hours. Maria told him everything. About university, about her career, about building her company, about her family. She showed him hundreds of photos. Mr. Chen laughed and cried and kept saying he couldn't believe it. I just give you some tea, he kept saying. Just tea and newspapers. No, Maria said firmly. You gave me dignity when I felt worthless. You gave me hope when I felt hopeless. You gave me belief when I had none. That's worth more than all the money in the world. Before they left that day, Maria had made some decisions. First, she was paying off every single one of Mr. Chen's medical bills. All of them. Every debt cleared. Maria, no, is too much. Mr. Chen, I make more in a month than these bills total. This isn't even a sacrifice for me. This is justice. This is right. Second, she was setting up a trust fund. Enough money to cover all of Mr. Chen's living expenses, medical care, medications, everything he needed for the rest of his life. He'd never have to worry about money again. You live comfortably, she said. You take all your medications. You eat 3 meals a day. You see doctors when you need to. You enjoy your retirement. That's non-negotiable. Third, she was setting up a similar fund for Linda. For Mr. Chen's daughter and grandchildren. College funds for the kids. Money to help Linda buy a house, take care of her family. Your daughter sacrificed her own comfort to help you, Maria said. She shouldn't have to struggle. Neither should your grandchildren. Mr. Chen tried to protest. It was too much. He didn't deserve it. He'd just been doing what anyone would do. No, Maria said. Not anyone. Most people walked past me every day. Most people didn't see me at all. You stopped. You shared your tea. You treated me like I mattered. That's rare. That's special. And it changed everything. But Maria wasn't done. She had one more idea, and she wanted Mr. Chen's blessing for it. Mr. Chen, I want to create a scholarship at Lincoln High School. A full scholarship covering everything. Tuition, books, housing, food. Everything a student needs to go to college without worrying about money. I want to give it to immigrant students. Students like I was. Students who are smart and hardworking but invisible. And I want to call it the Thomas Chen Scholarship. Mr. Chen's face crumpled. He covered his face with his hands and sobbed. Not sad tears. Overwhelmed tears. Happy tears. You do this? Really do this? Not just one scholarship. Every year. For as long as the school exists. I'm setting up an endowment. Money that will last forever. Every single year a student will get a full ride to college. And they'll know it's because of you. Because of your kindness. Your legacy won't be cleaning floors, Mr. Chen. Your legacy will be changing lives. In the following weeks, Maria made it all happen. She met with lawyers, accountants, the principal of Lincoln High School. The Thomas Chen Scholarship was established with a massive endowment. The first recipient would be chosen that spring. She moved Mr. Chen to a better apartment. A bright, spacious 2-bedroom with big windows and modern appliances. She furnished it beautifully. She hired a part-time caregiver to help with cleaning and cooking and making sure he took his medications. She brought her children to meet him. Little Thomas, who climbed into Mr. Chen's lap and said, "Mommy says you're the reason I exist." Grace, who gave him a drawing she'd made of a rainbow and asked if he liked tea parties. Mr. Chen held those children and cried. "I live long enough to see this," he kept saying. "I live long enough." Linda came to visit, nervous about meeting Maria, but Maria embraced her immediately. "Your father changed my life," Maria told her, "and he told me all about you. About how you inspired me to tutor, how you let me volunteer at your school. You helped me too, even if you didn't know it. The trust fund Maria set up for Linda's family meant she could work less, stress less, actually enjoy her children. Linda cried when Maria explained it all. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. Your father taught me about community, about helping each other. This is how it works. This is paying it forward.